All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where we've got another update about Terence Crawford and what he will be doing next. And it is not fighting a certain mandatory guy. So what does that mean for the fight many people want to see? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 147-pound division where we got some good news. Terence Crawford had a mandatory order for him against Alexis Rocha. However, it is now apparent that that fight is off the table, and I will tell you why in this video, but it is a good sign. Not a conclusive sign, but it is a good sign that we may get the Errol Spence Jr. fight. But at the same time, the past is a great indicator of the future. So we'll talk about that aspect of it as well. But before we get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber and supporter of the channel, thank you so much for your continued support. It really does mean a lot. Thank you very, very much for all your support and a super thanks. But let's get to it. Okay. There was a tweet that came out yesterday from Jake Donovan. If you are not familiar with who Jake Donovan is, he is one of the best writers in boxing. He is the editor of BoxingScene.com, and he reported that one potential sign of the Spence Crawford fight being back in play is that Alexis Rocha, who was waiting out the WBO mandatory title shot, moving forward with his career. Welterweight contender returns May 27th against Anthony Young in a resurrected fight. So, if you recall, the WBO had ordered Terence Crawford to, and this is really strange because they ordered it early. They ordered a mandatory fight for Terence Crawford early against Alexis Rocha. And so it looked like Errol Spence Jr. was going to be fighting Keith Thurman. And it looked like Terence Crawford would be fighting Alexis Rocha. The WBO had a, you have a period of time where you have to negotiate. And then I do believe as of the 22nd of this month, that time frame expired. And you had, and they were supposed to go to purse bid, but you didn't hear anything about the purse bid. So what winds up happening is now Alexis Rocha has pulled out of those negotiations, or Golden Boy and Alexis Rocha have pulled out of those negotiations, and he is just going to go about fighting somebody else. Now, I do not know whether that means that he was paid step-aside money or not. I doubt that he was paid step-aside money. That type of stuff is usually announced around the same time. It just seems probably like, Alexis Rocha, knows that Terence Crawford is in negotiations with Errol Spence. And I do believe, according to Bomac, that they had another option as well, that Alexis Rocha said, look, man, I need to fight. And I need to make a paycheck. I'm not going to do, or at least, Golden Boy or somebody says, look, man, I'm not going to do, wait all this time just to find out that, I can't fight. So he is now going to wind up having a fight May 27th, which is 2 weeks before the June 17th date that was out there. I do believe that date is really out there for Errol Spence. It could be Terence Crawford. It could be Keith Thurman, right? So that said, it does not mean for sure that Terence Crawford is going to fight in June against Errol Spence. It could just mean that Alexis Rocha doesn't want to play the waiting game anymore. And that Oscar De La Hoya and those guys don't want to play the waiting game, that he feels like if Terence Crawford's not committed to the fight and the sanctioning body is not going to force them to make a decision and force a purse bid, that Alexis just says, look, I'm out of it. I'll wait until that whatever he decides to do, and at that point in time, maybe I can get the fight towards the end of the year. But honestly, man, for Alexis Rocha, this is probably a smarter decision, because if they did go to purse bid, he's not going to make very much money because of the 75-25 split that would be for the fight. And if they can't come up with a deal between Terence Crawford and Alexis Rocha, right, that could wind up being less money or about the same money that he would get for fighting this guy, Anthony Young, right, who just could be all kind of reasons why they do that. But what we do know for sure is that now this Alexis Rocha fight is off the table for Terence Crawford. And you would think, and that does make it obvious, though. I agree with this, what Jake Donovan said, because, you got to listen to what people say. He said that it's back in play. Now, everybody is confirming that it's in play. Steven Espinosa's confirmed that it's in play, right? You've had all kind of different leaks and stuff out there about, it being in play. Bomac, the trainer and the manager of Terence Crawford, said that, it's in play, that, there's a good chance of it happening. But he also said, or it could be this Rocha fight, right? But with Rocha pulling out, that's one less option for Terence Crawford. But does that mean that Terence Crawford is going to sign to fight Errol Spence? No, it doesn't. Because Terence Crawford really, over the last several years, has only fought once a year. So he may decide that he doesn't want to do anything until the December time frame and fight on the same yearly schedule that he's been fighting on for the last, for a bit of time. The only thing that I would hope is that if he does decide to do that, that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't wait for him to do that and does like Alexis Rocha does and just get another fight. And then if it comes back around in December, it comes back and around in December. But anyway, you cut it. I'm glad that this Alexis Rocha fight, at least this option, is off the table, because this is not a fight anybody really wanted to see aside from the Errol Spence, aside from the Errol Spence Jr. talk. This is not, some fight that we would want to see. It would have been, Sean Porter, which I think, was an acceptable fight. Then you have Alexis Rocha and, David Avanesyan and Alexis Rocha back to back. Just not the best fights in the world, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Hopefully we'll get the fight that we want to get. I'm really looking forward to just a decision being made in it, whether it is he fights Errol Spence Jr. or he fights or Errol fights Keith Thurman or Terence Crawford fights somebody else. It really doesn't make a difference to me. I would like this year to be filled with more fights, more high quality fights with high quality fighters in it. It doesn't necessarily have to be the greatest fight in the world all the time. As long as you get a good one, you know what I mean? As a boxing fan that pays attention to the sport every day, watches boxing matches every day, whether they're live or whether they're, an old archived footage of a fight. I just want to see more. I want to see more solid fights with the best fighter in the world against somebody that you believe can put up a fight with them where there's some chance that something can happen. So if Terence Crawford were to fight Jaron Ennis, which we know probably is not going to happen, or he would say, to take a fight at 154 real fast and fight somebody like J-Rock or Erickson Lubin or somebody like that, right? I would take those type of fights, man. Would love if not, as long as it's not somebody else that, he just kind of a no-hoper type of guy. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.